Good Sunday morning and welcome to WGN-TV Political Report. I'm Paul Lisnick. We turn right to City Hall today where Mayor Brandon Johnson is facing tough questions this week on a number of issues. Johnson reignited a debate over gun detection software called ShotSpotter after announcing he'd follow through with terminating use of the technology. And a decision on how to handle some police misconduct cases is again headed to court after a heated city council vote. I talked with 2nd Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins and 34th Ward Alderman Bill Conway. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for being here. Been a busy week, so I want to pop into a lot of issues with you. Brian Hopkins, let me start with you. Mayor Johnson campaigned on ending the ShotSpotter contract, so his announcement last week wasn't unexpected. It's just sort of the abruptness and the uncertainty that came along with that decision garnered a lot of criticism. Can you shed some light?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me just say I personally find it ironic that Mayor Lightfoot kept 2 campaign promises that I didn't want her to keep, and now here we are once again. This mayor's keeping a campaign promise that I think it would have been much better had he not kept it. You know, campaigning is different than governing. The situation has changed. He's learned more now as a mayor than he did as a candidate. And I think this is one instance where the city could have understood if he said, you know, I told you I wasn't going to keep ShotSpotter, but the police want it, my own superintendent wants it, a majority of the city council want it, and it works. Why not keep it? Instead, he chose to keep a promise that he made, and here we are.
Well, Alderman Conway, let me follow up on that because the data is mixed about the ShotSpotter program. Police call it useful. The city's own inspector general found that only 9% of spot shotter alerts resulted in evidence of a gun crime. So the bottom line is, how do you square those differing views in a city where violence is on our minds every single day?
Well, there may be differing views, with regard to some, folks in offices and other buildings. But when you talk to police officers that are on the street working with this, and that is all the way from superintendent down to the beat cops, they will tell you to a person that ShotSpotter is a useful tool. And as Alderman Hopkins alluded to, Superintendent Snelling was very impressive in his confirmation hearing. And one of the things that he talked about was how with a diminished police force, having technology as a force multiplier could really be helpful to his efforts. And that is why he's such a big fan of ShotSpotter. And what doesn't really make any sense is the fact that you have a situation where the mayor's office has chosen not to listen to the superintendent, but yet feels the need or has said that they want to keep ShotSpotter for some period of time moving forward. So that just seems very incongruous as far as what the real plan is.
Well, and Alderman Hopkins, I mean, look, activists have made it clear this is not the end of their efforts to sort of get rid of some of this technology that deals with police surveillance. So let me ask you, do you support more technology?
100%. In fact, back when I had the ability to spend discretionary menu money on technology, I did it. That was something else Mayor Lightfoot chose to eliminate, so I can't do it anymore. But we as aldermen can make recommendations, and I just submitted a list of a number of locations in my ward that I believe should have police pod cameras and should have license plate character readers added to those locations because of the criminal activity that's happened there. And as Alderman Conway mentioned, we're short about 2,000 patrol officers right now. We couldn't hire 2,000 patrol officers this week if we wanted to, but what we can do is put in additional cameras and additional license plate readers and help the police officers that we do have solve crime and arrest criminals. That's what it's all about.
Alderman Conway, let me switch topics with you and talk about one of the other big things that happened this week, the arbitration issue, with City Council again rejecting an arbitrator's ruling that would let the most serious of police misconduct cases go to an arbitrator sort of behind closed doors. You sided with the majority of your colleagues in saying that power should stay with the police board. You disagreed with that. Let me get each of your views. Tell me how you reached that decision.
Paul, on every issue, I try and vote my conscience. And this was an area where I voted with the mayor. When I was an assistant state's attorney, I had the pleasure of working with hundreds of wonderful police officers who worked hard to keep us safe every day. But I also charged, tried, and convicted 3 police officers who had, violated the sacred trust that has to exist between the police department and the community. And because of that, when you have egregious issues of disciplinary measures, I think it's important that those things are litigated in a transparent way to maintain that trust. I do acknowledge, as I suspect Alderman Hopkins will note, that the law and public policy may be incongruous in this area, and I think that's something we need to work with our Springfield partners to rectify.
Your view?
Yeah, I support arbitration for police officers for the same reason I support it for all of the other collective bargaining units that, have this right. It's enshrined in state law. Clearly, state law extends it to the police. And it's about fairness. It's about trying to adjudicate a situation where the facts are cloudy. When something happens and there's a loss of life in a police-involved shooting, even in today's world of video from body cameras, it still isn't always clear exactly what happened.
But shouldn't the public have the right to sort of know how that arbitrator reached that decision, which we wouldn't know if that procedure had happened?
Well, we will actually. When arbitrators make a decision,
You'll know the decision
becomes public. You might not know exactly what was said during the course of the confidential hearing where the evidence was presented, but you'll know the ultimate disposition of it, and you'll know the arbitrator's justification because they provide that in a written narrative. So the public will still have that measure of accountability, but the police officer who is accused, just like anyone else in society, has the presumption of innocence, the right to fairness, and the right not to have it tried in the town square in the glare of the media spotlight, which in today's environment, we do have a strong current of anti-police sentiment that just seems to, permeate all communications channels today, and that creates an atmosphere of unfairness where police really can't get a fair shake.
Well, and decisions have consequences. Alderman Conway, John Catanzaro, the president of the FOP, and I'm going to quote him. He said that the mayor quarterbacked the whole thing. He just made himself public enemy number 1 for 2027. That sounds pretty ominous to me.
Yeah, that sounds pretty. Our colleagues, vote. We all voted the way we voted based on our own views on this. And I am have a lot of respect for our Chicago police officers, and I voted the way I voted, not only because the transparency affects really both sides of this. On one hand, if you have a closed-door arbitrator who gives a weak punishment, say, people think, oh, the fix is in. Well, if it's if every punishment seems to be very strict in this process, the police officers won't trust it, and that's why I think you need to have a transparent process. So I think President Catanzaro's statement's a bit draconian. My colleagues and I, we voted our conscience on this. And it's an area where Alderman Hopkins and I differ, but there's certainly mutual respect across not only the two of us, but across all of our 50
Well, is Catanzaro
colleagues.
sending us a warning, Alderman Hopkins?
I didn't vote the way I did because of any saber rattling from the FOP, and I'm not sure how much political influence they actually have on a citywide basis. So again, that was just a little bit of bluster that you heard there. Now, on the other hand, I do expect as the FOP lawyers go forward and litigate this matter, it's highly likely that it will be resolved in their favor. So I think this battle will actually be fought in the courtroom, not necessarily in the ballot box.
We're going to take a quick break, but up next, inside the migrant crisis, will Chicago chip in millions of dollars to help bridge a funding gap? More with Alderman Brian Hopkins and Bill Conway when we come back. Stay with us.